Who are you following? Who do you follow? Sometimes I think that, as I said in previous videos, when people conceive of academics, they think of just people that are making arguments against each other, or people that are just doing research, or people that are just maybe highfalutin, people that are just intellectually engaged in talking about really detailed and specific ideas that are maybe very far in esoteric, maybe far further from the surface of ideas that we usually engage with in life. But one thing I think that's lost sometimes is people don't realize the extent to which academics are also followers. And it's important to know who you're following. And if you're not following somebody, asking why you're not following somebody, and maybe asking yourself, maybe there's a benefit into following somebody. What do I mean by following somebody? Well, influence. Who are you influenced by? And are you intentionally influenced by people? Or are you just going with whatever feels good at the moment or whatever seems to be appealing? Because again, if we relate this to academics, academics typically are highly influenced by people. Their influence by other people is precisely what gets them to go further into academia. If there is a popular academic, as a testament to what I'm saying, if there's a popular academic, you can look them up if they have a Wikipedia page or something like that. And on their Wikipedia page, it'll show you influences or schools of thought. They have schools of thought. They're a part of a school of thought. That school of thought will also relate to certain people that influence them. So to get to know those academics better, you look up who they were influenced by. Who are they following? Who are you following? I follow hundreds. When I say follow, I don't mean like we follow them on Instagram or Snapchat or something or social media. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about who are you actually influenced by, and have you been intentionally influenced by people throughout your life? I would say probably one of my strongest proclivities to being engaged in academics is my tendency to find people to follow, find people to be influenced by, finding role models and people, usually people that are from different eras, different generations, people that are long gone, people that, were not in the world while I've been in the world. Why was that a proclivity of mine? I don't know, but it was something that I've always had. And I think it's something that propels my participation in academia. But I want to take some time to address this because I think this is a presumption that we fail to mention about academic life and also just about life in general, where, again, some people might assume that academics are just smart people doing it all on their own, but they're not. They're doing it on the backs of people who which they were influenced by. And academics also tend to be people that are very open to being influenced by other people's ideas. And that's what makes them intelligent. They didn't get that way on their own. They got that way from learning and listening to other people and juxtaposing, comparing ideas, comparing and contrasting ideas to where eventually they make their own ideas. And then those ideas might go through further scrutiny or research and what have you, and get distilled from there. But it all starts with someone who's willing to be a follower, someone who's willing to be influenced by another person. It's not the case that academics are just ready-made, that are just there with these ideas and have these ideas without any course of influence. So my question to you is, who are you following and why are you following them? And if you take inventory and realize that you don't follow anybody, you don't tend to follow people, then I'd ask myself, well, why is that such the case? And is there any benefit in following somebody? I could tell you in my own life, I follow hundreds of people, hundreds of people. And sometimes when I talk to people, especially if they know my involvement in academia, or if they know I'm an academic person, and they might say, "Oh, well, okay, you're an intelligent guy, this and that," but I don't think they recognize sometimes who I've been influenced by. My intelligence or knowledge about a certain subject is only because of my participation with the work of who I've been influenced by. That's it. I'm also a musician, so that characteristic I think plays a role as well. Because in music, anybody who wants to be a good musician knows from a young age that they have to learn from other musicians. The whole process and pedagogy of learning a musical instrument is generally studying multiple figures very, very intensely so that you are able to replicate certain types of sounds and certain types of genres. Especially in the case of me being a jazz musician, that's basically the whole project of jazz music is to emulate those that came before you. So we're very open to um, learning from others. How open are you to learning from others? Again, if you're looking at someone like an academic and thinking, well, I don't quite understand them. I don't quite understand how they got this way. I don't quite understand how they learned so much. I don't understand where they get all these ideas. Well, it's because they're open to other people. They follow a lot of people. Like I said, I would say that the typical academic is not too dissimilar from me and my experience following hundreds of people. I mean, I haven't gone through the labor of writing all their names down because I don't think it's really that important here. But I guarantee you, it's at least hundreds of people. And if you stack it between genres, what I'm talking about is all the philosophers that I've followed and been influenced by, all the theologians I've followed and been influenced by, all the scientists that I've followed and been influenced by, all the musicians, all the people in agriculture and farmers that I've been influenced by. You know, for every area of interest that I have, there's tons of people within there who I've been influenced by. And sometimes you're even influenced by people that you don't agree with. There's many people that I really would even credit a lot of my academic growth to, who I don't necessarily agree with. For instance, one would be Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre, I spent the majority of my undergrad studies studying Jean-Paul Sartre, Being in Nothingness, 20th century existentialism. Love the subject. I don't really agree with most of it, but I find it very interesting. I love the way he wrote about it. I love the way he wrote about the topic of negation. And I believe that's the second chapter of Being in Nothingness. I love what he did, but I don't necessarily agree with it. So people that you follow aren't necessarily people that you agree with. The last point I want to make about this is why follow people. The reason why you want to follow people is because, amongst other things, you can't just follow yourself. So recently, I've kind of had a run-in with somebody, a run-in with a friend who's going through a hard time. And one thing that I noticed about what they're going through is that they were relying too much on themselves. They didn't seem to be following anybody. When there was a problem, they'd self-isolate, try to heal themselves through their own practice, trying to get better by following themselves. You can't do that. I mean, you think about someone that's addicted to drugs. Usually there's some kind of intervention that has to happen, right? People tend to not, in those kind of situations, just follow themselves, do they? Because What do they themselves want to do? Well, they just want to keep exhibiting the habit that they already have. You see, when I say you follow yourself, if you're following yourself, you're only going to follow yourself into those kind of habits that you already have, which have gotten you to the place that you don't want to be in. So why would you follow yourself? You can't follow yourself through life. You have to follow others through life. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have a strong constitution. Like I spoke about Jean-Paul Sartre. Yeah, I follow his work, but I disagree with a lot of it. But he's still, you can learn yourself through disagreement with others, through exploring others, following others, and seeing where you disagree with them. And that will illuminate your identity through that. But if I spent all this time following myself, I wouldn't have known the ways I disagree with Jean-Paul Sartre, 20th century existentialism, and so on. If I'm going through a tough time, I can't just resort to what I want to do, because what I want to do is probably not the healthy thing. You have to consider this. We can't just follow ourselves through life. And this doesn't always mean that you need somebody like a mentor or a therapist or a spouse or a significant other or even a close friend. Sometimes that just means you need to read a book and you need to take it seriously. You need to find someone in history and you need to take them seriously. This is another thing, so I think some of the most unhealthy people that I've ever met are those that aren't following anybody and who don't take the opportunity to follow those throughout history that they could gain knowledge, experience, and comfort from. People that you follow don't have to be people that are within your immediate access. They don't have to live in the same town. They don't have to be in the same neighborhood. They don't even have to be in the world at this moment. They just have to have been. They just have to have done something that you might find of interest or that might serve as a remedy to something that you are going through. Serve as a sort of someone that could understand, someone that understands what you're going through. Serve as a way for you to understand what you're going through. All this academic stuff, we talk about it, like I said, in an intellectual way, but these are people. These are people and they're really going through things. This is another thing I think people don't understand sometimes about academics. Sometimes they think that the ideas, because they're complex and abstract, that they're impersonal, but they're not. I guarantee you that Jean-Paul Sartre was just as bothered about the state of human consciousness and the angst of human existence as someone is concerned about, being in traffic and not being able to get to work on time. Whatever visceral reaction to whatever pet peeve or whatever inconvenience you have or whatever frustration you ever have, that same kind of frustration that people go through when something unfortunate happens in their life is the same kind of angst, anxiety, and frustration that philosophers, scientists, academics go through when they find problems. Because academics really are just people that burden themselves with large issues or large topics having to do usually with some kind of modality of the human experience or human existence. They willfully burden themselves through these problems, one, because they find them concerning, and two, because maybe they find that they might be able to delineate that problem and serve as a resource into answering that problem or coming to a conclusion about it. It's a large burden that academics choose to carry. If you're familiar, which a lot of people are, Jordan Peterson, for example. If anybody knows anything about Jordan Peterson, you can find many clips of him crying when he talks. Why is he? Because he takes this. Why is he crying? He takes this stuff seriously. You can say whatever about his philosophy or his ideas if you agree with him or not, but that is someone who truly burdens himself with the stuff that he talks about. He truly burdens himself with aspects of um, of psychology, of human nature, and of existence. Right. The best academics, I think, the truest academics are the ones that do take it personally. For them, it's not just ideas out there. It's not just an argumentative point to make. It's something that is reflective of the human experience and constitutive of the human experience, and something of which they want to aid in resolving. That's what I want to leave you with today. Who are you following? Why are you following them? If you're not following somebody, why not? And always be weary of only following yourself. Again, this is At the Symposium. Thanks for watching.